Representative Mark Souder from Indiana is a conservative Republican. He believes in family values, but this is not an ordinary guy who just generally believes in family values. He is an evangelical Christian who has based his whole campaigns and his career on being evangelical and family values, traditional values. He's an 8-term congressman from Indiana. Now, can you guess what happened? Of course. Got caught boning his staff. Okay, there's this lady named Tracy Jackson that works for him, and Fox News reported originally Jackson is still on his staff. She might want to get off. And it turns out he did not live those family values. I am so shocked and chagrined by that. I didn't see that coming. Well, apparently neither did he. He says he has sinned against God. Now, it gets much better. I'm going to tell you about all of his hypocrisy in just a second. But first, you want to start with hypocrisy? We got a video of Mark Souder talking about abstinence. How you need to stay within your marriage, get married and then stay within your marriage, etc. That's what he always campaigns about, abstinence. No, you want it better? The person interviewing him is Tracy Jackson, the woman he wound up having an affair with. All right, let's show you a little snippet from this. Abstinence is the only thing that works. Let's hear it from the two people who would know best.
As a member of the House Oversight and Government Reform Committee,
bad.
You participated in an April 2008 hearing at which you were one of the only voices in the room speaking in defense of abstinence education.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
You've been a longtime advocate for abstinence education, and in 2006 you had your staff conduct a report entitled Abstinence and Its Critics, which discredits many claims purveyed by those who oppose abstinence education.
Of course it does.
What did you think of this hearing?
Well, I personally feel I should have probably abstained from the hearing.
Okay.
It was arguably, although I've seen Chairman Waxman has done some pretty biased hearings,
yes.
but this was arguably the most biased hearing we've been. First off, from the topic, how has abstinence education failed? Rather than
So you knew you were going to be fighting
how
from the get-go.
hard is it to get kids to abstain from sex, regardless what program you give them, would have been a fair title. The failures of both condom distribution and abstinence education to prevent teen pregnancy would have been an interesting title, because guess what? Nothing works very well.
Yeah, I bet you know that better than anybody else. You know, I was wondering, I don't know when they had the affair. Would have gone to the ethics committee. I'll come back to that point in a second. I wonder if it was right there. They're like, oh, yeah, abstinence. Oh, abstinence. You know, that's the only thing that'll work because there's such a fire that burns within them. Did they have sex on that table, I wonder? After doing a little interview about abstinence? The hypocrisy knows no bounds. But Mark Souder is going to tell us the difference between Democrats and Republicans. He's got this thing figured out. Still on the same abstinence interview that makes me laugh and laugh. Go to clip 5.
This type, when people say, how is Washington different than Indiana? Here's an example. How is it different to have a conservative in control of Congress as opposed to a liberal? When I was chairman of the committee, of which Waxman was the chairman was part of my subcommittee, we did on abstinence programs and how to make them work better and how to make any kind of program work better.
Not to prove that they failed.
And his program is how we can repeal abstinence programs.
What a difference.
Yeah, what a difference. You know, when the Democrats are in charge, they talk about common sense. When we're in charge, we say, no sex at all. Unless it's you, you're kind of hot. Come here. He's got 3 kids at home, got a family, et cetera, right? Now, look, here's what you never understood, Mark Souder. That it's not about, hey, if you make a mistake, we're going to pounce on you. Because, you know, it appears I'm pouncing on him, right? Because it's what you did to the other people. It's what you did to all those people that you judged. And you said, no, you need to be abstinent. And you need to not take drugs. And you need to do this. And you need not to be gay, et cetera, et cetera. Oh, but when it comes and turns around and it's your fault, well, come on, she was kind of hot. And you see me, I'm Porky Pig. And, you know, when this chick came on to me, I mean, abstinence went straight out the window. And all my committee hearings on abstinence went straight out the window. Okay, now, here comes Souder being really reprehensible. So what were his main issues? 1, abstinence, obviously. Number 2, he co-sponsored the D.C. Defense of Marriage Act. Here's the marriage you might have wanted to defend, your own, by keeping little Porky Pig inside your pants. Okay? So don't tell me about who can get married and who can have a good family and what family values are. All right, here's more from Mr. Family Values. I believe that, this is a quote, I believe that Congress must fight to uphold traditional values that undergird the strength of our nation. The family plays a fundamental role in our society. I am committed to preserving traditional marriage, unless it's mine, in which case I'm going to cheat on my wife the first opportunity I get. All right, now look, this stuff is hypocrisy. We've covered it before, but now look, this next thing is what really does him in. He's the kind of guy, and I have the numbers here for you and the facts, that judges other people and doesn't believe they should get a second chance. Okay? So one of the things that he pushed for was denying federal student aid to anyone caught in any possession of any drugs, no matter how minor. Kids going to college, gets busted with pot, whatever it might be. Your federal aid is gone. One mistake and you're gone. You know how many people that cost college aid to? Some of them couldn't afford to go to college anymore. Others had to pay for it. Others had to transfer. It affected their lives dramatically because of this draconian law. 200,000 kids got denied a college education or aid for college education because of this policy when Souter was the head of the committee called Government Reform Subcommittee on Criminal Justice, Drug Policy, and Human Resources between 01 and 07. So when it comes to his own mistake, oh no, he has sinned against God, but he's begging for your forgiveness. And he says, no, Washington's too tough and poisonous. It's not his fault. She was too hot and Washington was too poisonous. Okay? But when it's other people's mistakes, he will crush you because he's a judgmental prick. And he denied all those kids exactly what they needed, which was an actual education, and did a completely counterproductive policy that says, oh, you did touch drugs at all, that's it. Now, suffer for the rest of your life without a college education for a lot of those kids. All right. I say that to you, and by the way, one other thing, in that little interview he had with his mistress, he talked about how he was offended that in one of the hearings he had to listen to some guys with AIDS. And he says, yeah, they think it's everybody's fault but their own that they got AIDS. Now, it's everybody's fault but Mark Souter's that he wound up having an affair. Now, let's go to this bitch crying up a storm. Here he is at his exit press conference. Go to clip 3 here.
It is with great regret I announce that I am resigning from the U.S. House of Representatives, as well as resigning as a Republican nominee for Congress in this fall's election. I believe it is the best decision for my family, the people of Northeast Indiana, and our country. I will submit my resignation to Speaker Pelosi effective this Friday. I can never fully thank all those who have worked so hard, given so much, and supported me through 8 contested primaries and 8 general elections. Only when you have been the recipient can you really feel the humbling power of such generosity.
Oh. Are you crying? Are you crying?
It has been a privilege to be part of the battle for freedom and the values we share. It has been a great honor to fight for the needs, the jobs, and the future of this region where my family has lived for over 160 years.
Oh.
It has been all-consuming for me to do this job well, especially in a district with costly competitive elections every 2 years. I do not have any sort of normal life.
Oh, poor
for
you.
For family, for friends, for church, or for community. To serve has been a blessing and a responsibility given from God. I wish I could have been a better example. I sinned against God, my wife, and my family by having a mutual relationship with a part-time member of my staff. In the poisonous environment of Washington, D.C., any personal failing is seized upon, twisted for political gain. I'm resigning rather than put my family through a painful, drawn-out process of which any legal question would have been clearly resolved and I would have been exonerated. But the political price to pay and the personal price of my family was not worth it.
Yeah. Did you notice that there at the end? You know why he actually retired? You think he felt remorse? Please don't tell me you're that much of a sucker. No, it got reported to the ethics committee, and he was in a world of trouble. He went through the primaries full well knowing all this. He's been in office full well knowing that he's been schlepping his staff all this time. No, when it looked like the ethics committee was going to kick him out anyway, he says, oh my God, all of a sudden I sinned against God and I just realized it because it went to the ethics committee. Okay? Look, now, natural human reaction is to feel sorry for the guy as he weeps about his mistake. Don't do it. Okay? And I'll tell you why. Because he didn't cry when he denied gay couples the ability to visit one another in the hospital as one of them is dying. He didn't cry as he denied hundreds of thousands of kids a college education, the money to pay for it, because they once made one solitary mistake. He crushed them. He ground them with his injustice. And now when his fat ass makes a mistake, he's out there crying like a baby. Oh, I cry, oh my God, I sinned against God. You didn't know that when you took your penis out? You didn't think, hey, maybe this is the transgression against God. No, what his problem is that he got caught. And that's when he realized it was a sin against God. Not in the middle of the orgasm. He's like, oh yeah, abstinence is great. Yeah, right. Not then, right? You weren't thinking about your 3 kids. You weren't thinking about your church. Talking about political gain. Oh, in the poisonous atmosphere of Washington, people will spin this for a political purpose. No, you've been spinning things for a political purpose your whole life and never had any mercy for anybody. All right, so watch this bitch cry again. 3A.
Not only am I thankful for a loving family and for a loving God, my comfort is that God is gracious and forgiving God to those who sincerely seek his forgiveness as I do. But I am so ashamed to have hurt those I love. I am so sorry to have let so many friends down, people who have fought so hard for me. The ideas we advocate are still just and right. America will survive and thrive when anchored in those values. Human beings like me will fail, but our cause is greater than individuals. It is based upon eternal truths. By stepping aside, my mistake cannot be used as a political football in a partisan attempt to undermine the cause for which I have labored for my entire adult life. I love this area. This is my home. It has been such an honor to serve you. For 16 years, my family and I have given our all for this area. The toll has been high. As I leave public office, my plans are focused upon repairing my marriage, earning back the trust of my family and my community, and renewing my walk with my Lord. I humbly ask you, for the sake of my family, that you respect our privacy in this difficult time. I have no further comments.
Yeah, no.
Here's my statement.
I do not respect your privacy, as you did not respect the privacy of others. You got into their bedrooms and you said, no, I'm going to tell you who you can and can't sleep with, who you can and cannot love, who you can and cannot marry. And now you're going to complain about, oh, I had no normal life. I gave all I could to this community. No, you took all you could from that community. And the minute you got a chance to hook up with someone that you thought was hotter, apparently, than your wife, which makes me sick to say, okay, you went and took it because you don't believe in any of those things. It's easy to say it when it applies to someone else. It's not easy to act it. And that goes to the root cause here. That last thing he said there is the worst of all of it. No, what you didn't learn from this, Mark Souder, is that your ideology was wrong, that your cause was wrong. It's not still right, okay? Now, I want to clarify because this is very important. It doesn't mean that Mark Souder is wrong about pro-life or pro-choice. People can have an opinion on when a fetus becomes a live human being, etc. That doesn't affect that portion of his ideology at all. I'm not saying because Mark Souder cheated, he's wrong about everything in politics. Of course not. But the things that are relevant to his cheating, he is wrong on because of this example and a million others. Abstinence only doesn't work. Family values, what they call family values, which is just hatred disguised, which is I'm going to judge everybody else and make them do what I pretend I'm doing, but I'm not actually doing. That doesn't work. And you can see it with Mark Souder. He doesn't actually believe it. He doesn't actually practice it. None of them do. And we've seen a million examples of it. And then finally, on the judging of others and zero tolerance and taking away people's education, etc. That kind of judgmentalness is wrong. Your ideology is wrong. Can't you see now looking back, if you were really sorry, instead of coming out here and crying, what you would have said is, I am so sorry for all those people that I judged, for all those lives that I harmed by saying that, no, if you make a single mistake, you're gone. I realize we're all humans, we all make mistakes. Is there any way I could make it up to them? That's what I would have said. All right, you know what? People make mistakes. That was a heartfelt apology. Let me see him work towards that, right? No, you learn nothing from this, Mark Souder. You're pathetic. You're a hypocrite. And look, I'm not saying every Republican does this, but how many Republicans have we covered doing this? How many? How many do you need before you say, hey, maybe they don't actually believe in family values and that they're using it to trick you and to judge others?